and introduce yourself, man.
Well, thank you, Chris. Really pleasure to be part of this conversation. My name is Peter Edquiban, and I am based from Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
I moved in Chicago when I was, man, let's talk about reminiscing the good old days. I moved here when I was 8 years old. I migrated here with my parents, with my
From where?
little sister. Yeah, I was from the Caloocan, Manila,
Okay.
the Philippines, and just like uh, first generation
Mm-hmm.
immigrants coming to the United States. It's
Okay.
just the nitty gritty. You know, the land of milk and honey, right? When my
Yep.
dad convinced me to come to Chicago, he was more like, "Hey, we're gonna go visit, where Michael Jordan lived, where he
Hmm.
played." And in the beginning, I thought it was just a vacation, but it
Yeah.
was definitely a long longevity vacation for me. Still here.
Yeah. So when you heard about you, like when you were still in the Philippines, right? As a kid, of course, at 8 years old. What did you think of it? Like, what was your mindset like? Moving to a different country.
Honestly, I was innocent.
Yeah.
I loved my life in the Philippines. Very simple.
Mm-hmm.
My parents worked, round the clock, especially with my mom.
Okay.
As a full time provider for my family, moving to the United States was definitely a secondary option for my parents.
Okay.
Um, though while my dad was in Saudi Arabia,
Mm-hmm.
because since my family is actually here in the States,
Okay.
almost 80% of my family is in the United States, so
Okay.
it was a good opportunity for us to come over and be part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And being an 8-year old, it was another chapter for me, another chapter for me to uncover. And at a young age, I started young actually. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Pogs, Tex, all these
Yep. The
old school
outdoor. Yep.
Filipino, the outdoor play roundabouts when we were younger. I mean, I just turned 30 years old, and I feel like, man, 8 years old now, being here in the U.S. for 21 years.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a journey for me.
How has that changed? Like, when you started going to school, because I know, I mean, they teach us English in the Philippines, but it's
Correct.
definitely not our first language, of course. How was that like?
Oh man, honestly, in the beginning, when I first moved here,
Uh huh.
I lived in the city, right?
Yep.
It's in the northwest, close to the suburban area called Old Irving Park in the city of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the neighborhood where I lived at, it's predominantly Latino
Mm-hmm.
and Latino Hispanic
Okay.
and predominant black and white. So the Asian community is not as big as of the Latino area.
Mm-hmm.
My When I first came here, I started in fourth grade, and my very first teacher was an African American.
Yeah.
And trust me, it was like, man, I thought I knew English,
Uh huh.
but let me tell you a funny story about that.
Uh huh.
So when my grandma was still alive, my grandma was the one who was taking care of me. She
Okay.
was my babysitter.
Oh.
She would come and pick me up from school.
Mm-hmm.
And one time, my mom was called in because my teacher wanted to talk to her regarding my schoolwork.
Okay.
Um, I knew from the get go it was something bad,
Yeah.
and my grandma came in and says, in Tagalog siya, I'll go. Ako pupunta. Ako pupunta.
Yeah.
So my grandma was like, I'm like, Lola, it's not a good idea to go to school, but okay, come with me.
Yep.
How parents are, Filipino parents are, hey, I expect high grades from you.
Yep.
We're here to be very successful.
B
So
minus
my
not
grandma,
even good enough either.
exactly right. So at that point, fourth grade, my grandma came in. She met my teacher. She was African American. Next thing you know, my teacher was telling my grandma, just to let you know, your grandson does not submit his homework. And then my
What?
grandma just started laughing. She started, saying yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. And
What?
I'm like, Lola, you don't understand what she's saying? She's like, oh, very good job in school, very good job in school. Do homework very well.
Yeah.
So I came home and my mom asked me, so what happened in school? You know, your son's doing really good, doing well in homework. But my mom ended up finding out that I wasn't submitting the homework.
Oh
And,
wow.
I do my homework, but I don't submit it. I just,
Hmm.
because in the Philippines, they check your homework. So
Yep.
I went to a private school in the Philippines.
Hmm.
And every kid there, man, they are, they have their own yayas and they have their own
Yep.
maids. And so I grew up
Yep.
in that, lifestyle. But coming here to the United States, you got to do your
It's all
own
you.
chores. It's
Yep.
all you, exactly. So it was definitely a life changing for me coming here, and it was an adjustment at a young age, and
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And also like what I found out too, like coming here, the English part from what they teach us in the Philippines to here, it's
it's
just they
different.
have so much slangs out here, you know?
Yes, it's funny how you
Is you
mentioned that.
don't talk
Yeah,
properly out here.
exactly. So in the beginning, when I was listening to my teacher,
Hmm.
she kept saying red, 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 and I'm like, no, it's read, it's read.
Yeah.
It's the slang.
Yep.
So it was an adventure for me in the beginning,
Oh man,
but
yeah, me
I
too.
adapted it. I adapted it.
Cool, cool. And so basically you came here at 8, so I'm pretty sure that's still elementary school. Then of course you went here middle school and high school. When you were going into high school, did you kind of know what you wanted to get into when you get out of school?
Man, high school for me was a paradise. Yet it was a jungle paradise because at the
Hmm.
time we were moving from one household to another.
Okay.
So changing school was definitely a big leap step for me, or it was a transition
Hmm.
because all my friends were from grade school and also in middle school were in mostly like Filipino in the Filipino
Hmm.
community. When I moved to Bolingbrook, this where I live now with my parents,
Okay.
it's mostly white and black.
Hmm.
So there's only maybe a 0.04% Asian community. Now it's different. When I was in high school, it was
Hmm.
mostly white and black
Okay.
and mostly Latinos. Um, when I was a freshman, I personally didn't have any interest with healthcare because
Hmm.
my mom's a pharmacist, my dad's an
Okay.
engineer, so it's like in between both.
Yeah.
Um, but I knew from the beginning within me,
Hmm.
I'm a hustler because
Yep.
I hustled young. I did a lot of crazy stuff when I
I
was
feel like that
younger.
mindset when you're coming from the Philippines young
Uh-huh.
is just in you for the most part.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, even when I was younger, at 6, 7 years old, I'm not going to forget this. I don't know how long you've been in the United States, but in
Mhm.
the Philippines, you have all the vendors that walks around with the whole. You have ice cream. You have the fish ball vendors, right?
Yep.
Back
Everywhere.
in the day, I would just, hustle with all the kids, trying to hustle them with all my techs and all the pogues.
Uh huh.
And I will try to like replace and, you know, buy and hustle. Like, give me a
Yeah.
pack of this and I'll give you this amount. So it was a transition for me. I started young, even when I was in grade school.
Hmm.
So in the beginning, I thought it was just like, it was a need because, I grew up, coming here to the United States. It was, we came from nothing, living in one
Hmm.
bedroom with my family, with my dad, with my mom and my sister. We were sleeping in one bedroom, and
And that
it
was here
was
in the U.S., right?
it was in the U.S. Yeah, I mean, back home, I had we had a maid. I had a
Hmm.
yaya, who does the laundry, does
Yep.
the
Dishes,
dishes.
everything.
Exactly, and coming here,
Yeah,
you
you don't
gotta
have that luxury
be
anymore.
and there's no more luxury exactly. So, my dad was the only one working at the time when we came here in the United States.
Okay.
It was a time when the 9/11 occurred. So my dad was affected by the furlough. He
Yeah.
got fired from where he was working.
Right.
So it was a tough situation in the beginning, you know.
Yeah. So basically, so since your dad wasn't working at that time, was your mom working as well?
No, my mom was to stay home. She
Okay.
wanted to keep our heritage, you know, our
Mhm.
culture.
Okay.
Which and during the time my mom was pregnant with my brother, whom passed away 21 years ago.
Okay. Sorry to hear
Uh,
that.
it's okay.
And,
But yeah, I mean, it was a challenge for us coming here. It was a transition, but overall, I mean, you know, God's good, bro. Because
yeah.
you know,
What do you have for people? So basically, maybe somebody's gonna watch this. They just find out, hey, my parents probably gonna come get me. You know, like how we all did, because that's how with me too. Parents just told me,
hmm
like, hey, you're coming to the U.S. You know, within like 7, 8 months or something like that. What
hmm
advice would you give somebody? What to expect basically when you come here? We could do it by age group, like maybe like from your age, at that point, like at 8 years old, and we could do
uh-huh.
another one maybe older, maybe in their 20s. So we could start with the younger one first, like if they're like 8, 10 years old.
You know, at a young age, I mean, 8 to 10, you're a free will kid, man. You know, you have all the freedom to do whatever you want, make the decision for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I do want, my number one recommendation for, especially for parents and for young generations,
Mm-hmm.
is to never let go of your heritage, never let go of your culture. If you know how to speak Tagalog, or you know you're coming from different countries,
Mm-hmm.
never forget your first language, because
Yeah,
it's a benefactor for you, you know,
exactly.
in the long run. And the reason why I'm saying this, because man, nagtatagalog pa ako. I've been here for
Yeah.
21 years.
I know ako din eh. And the thing is,
You
like
know,
when you're younger too, a lot of people here they make fun of you, man, because of your accent,
yeah.
this and this. But later on, when they grow up, they just find out like, man, maybe.
I should have, could have, would have.
Yep, exactly.
That's where it comes, and
If somebody
comes to
makes
an
fun
end.
of you guys that come over here with that accent, man,
Uh-huh.
just let them be, man.
I mean, you will get teased here and there, but you know,
Yeah.
the truth, honest, especially for a young kid. Young kids now, it's different than it did back in the day. I mean, I would tell myself. I mean, I have a younger sister at 10 years old.
Hmm.
She's more smarter than me, man. When I was 10, I was still playing with like display toys. Now
Oh yeah,
kids
me
play with,
too. With the
you
action
know what I
figures.
mean? You know, how old are you, Chris? Tell
I'm
me.
28, about to be
You're
29.
28.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're about a year and a half younger than
younger.
me. So
Yeah,
we both
kind of in that
came
same
in
generation.
exactly right. So
Hmm.
you know we lived through um, that young mindset with no phone, no
Yeah,
iPads, no nothing. Right? It was
nothing.
just physical interaction with other kids.
Exactly.
So I mean, yeah, my number one recommendation is never forget where you came from. Never
Hmm.
forget, you know, your first language, because
Okay.
I've seen so many individuals who just came here for like a year. They've only been here for a year or two, and then they tell me they forgot how to speak Tagalog. I'm like, bro,
Oh
that's a
man.
joke.
Yeah.
For me, that's like,
It's
what
not
in the
even like a
world?
natural thing. I feel like they
Uh-uh.
put it in their brain, like you know what? Let me go. Forget this one and just
No, it's
yeah,
unfortunate here. I mean, I've met so
definitely.
many people like that, but
Sheesh.
you know, it's just you got to go day by day. You got to
Okay.
go day by
For the
day.
most part, I always speak Tagalog to somebody who speak to me in Tagalog. At first,
Yeah.
if I look at somebody and they look like they know how to speak it, I automatically do it. I
Uh-huh.
actually did it once in the Navy. I was speaking to this guy, man, for like 2, 3 minutes, talking in Tagalog, and
Uh-huh.
he was all like, I don't speak Tagalog, right? And I'm like, what? And ever since, I always wait until if they ask me about Tagalog or if they speak to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for the most part.
It's an
All right, let's go.
advantage.
Let's go over. So somebody that already graduated high school from the Philippines college, it's gonna be definitely harder, to learn or basically get proficient again in the English language, and also a whole basically a whole different world out here, like getting jobs and everything like that.
hmm
What kind of advice would you give somebody just coming out from the Philippines at 20 years old, 21?
For that kind of age gap, um, between the young and the old, I mean, that's a great question. Uh, great. My great response for it would be, quickly adapt. what, find yourself a subgroup, find
Mhm.
yourself a group of individuals that you would be able to have a great connection with. You got to have the sub connection with someone,
Yeah.
and but you got to be very picky in who you hang out with and who you affiliate with, because you're in that
Mhm.
category where it's time for you to find a job. It's time for you to find um, your um, your profession where it
Mhm.
will stand within your favors.
Yeah.
So you gotta be out there. You have to find what you believe is truly right for you, especially most Filipinos, and this is the the most common profession that I
Mhm.
hear, or I mean, not I hear, but I know for a fact it's the truth,
Mhm.
is most Filipinos go straight into healthcare because that's the most
Yeah.
secured environment for them to make a
Super
very
safe.
super safe profession,
Yes.
and also very well
Rewarding as well.
exactly rewarding.
Yep.
When you go to school, and then of course
Mhm.
you'll meet friends in
Yep.
school and whatnot.
A lot of
Um,
Filipinos in that community as well.
exactly. So you will find your potential group of friends.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, I mean, I started hanging out with my cousins who, frankly, in the beginning, my aunt was, or my mom was asking my cousins to teach me how to speak English,
Okay.
and in return, I'll teach them how to speak Tagalog. What happened
Mm.
was the Tagalog became more dominant, so they're the ones who learned more Tagalog than I did, than
Yeah.
me to speak English, because I learned English
Mhm.
mostly from kid shows like
Okay.
Arthur. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you knew.
I did too, man. Reading like Harry Potter books and watching Disney Channel for the most part, Nickelodeon.
Exactly, it's like the Disney Channel, WTTW,
Yeah.
Arthur, Dragon Tales, and all this good stuff. Elmo's World.
Yep.
Yeah,
Old
man. I mean,
school, everything.
that was my English tutor.
Most definitely, man. And it's funny how you spoke about with the medical stuff,
Uh,
man. I think so. My sister, I believe, is doing some type of nursing stuff at first, but
uh,
now she's switched off to like doing airlines. My younger brother, he's an RN. My wife, of
mhm,
course, at RN, traveling right now. She's at work, and
mhm,
definitely that part. I mean, in the Philippines too. Whenever they go to college, I see that a lot putting in from our parents ourselves telling us, what kind of they want, but
mhm.
it's putting a lot of pressure to you. Especially
I
when
mean,
coming here, they're expecting you to get a 9 to 5 ASAP, either that or go to
correct,
school,
correct.
try to pass it and go through that ASAP. So if somebody's coming here, and I know a lot of Filipino parents are always telling them, "Hey, this is what we got. We want you to do," or else they're not even going to support you at that. Um, because I know later on we're gonna talk about stock market and everything like that. What do you have
Mhm.
for somebody who doesn't want to do what their parents or just traditional Filipino way?
Let's see. That's a very, that's a good point, and very relating to my situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Usually, when you watch shows, you go through social media, especially Instagram or Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
you'll find statements like "do what you love,"
Yep.
do what you're passionate about. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Do what you love. Do what you makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
But at this rate, I would play safe. I would find something that will give supplemental income,
Mm-hmm.
but yet work on your dreams, what you love to do.
Okay.
Especially coming here, I understand it's difficult. It's not as easy transition as people think would say it would be, especially
Yep.
depending on your social status, depending on your personality, depending if
Mm-hmm.
you have a family here, if you don't have a family. Um, you know,
And also, some of them are sending like money back home and all that.
correct. That's a tough question. That really depends on the person's situation.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone will have the same energy. Like for example, myself. I mean, I am the eldest of four.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the age at my kind of personality is I want to be a good example for my younger siblings.
Of course.
And I wouldn't want them to experience what I had to go through at a young age. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's a it's a tight spot, especially if you're the eldest, and in the Filipino household in this family, because I'm the eldest, I'm the I'm the second person in command. If something happens with my parents, I'm liable I'm
Your
responsible and
siblings.
liable for my siblings, exactly.
Hmm.
So, and at the same time, I'm the guinea pig. Guinea pig in a good
Yeah.
sense that, my parents didn't know how to apply for college applications.
Hmm.
Um, Now, two of my younger siblings are in colleges. One's about to finish their my doctorate in pharmacy. One
Nice.
is in business of economics.
Nice.
So mostly like what I would recommend is listen to your parents first. Education's very important.
Hmm.
Stay in school, and if things doesn't work in their favors, and if things doesn't work with what they want you to do,
Hmm.
then gear shift. Because
Okay.
what matters is you are saving money on your end, not burning energy while you're young. Because if you're young, you have all the energy you want. And this is
Hmm.
where you really have to, and this is my recommendation for everyone
Hmm.
between 18 through 24.
Okay.
You have all the time in life to
Hmm.
figure out what you wanted for yourself, whether you want to start a family, whether you want to start a career, or you want to pursue a hobby that
Hmm.
may turn into a profession.
Okay.
But the most important is you have to build yourself. You have to really have to sustainability,
Yeah.
especially with, man, as a young entrepreneur, it's never easy,
Definitely
and
not.
it's not for everyone. I wouldn't recommend it.
Hmm.
But if it's something that you're willing to take risk, and it's a risk and reward kind of situation.
And if you're
You
passionate
have
about it as well.
exactly, you're gonna put enough time. There's no such thing as a 9 to 5. I'm gonna be
Hmm.
done at 5 p.m.
Yep.
Oh, I started at 6 a.m. I got to be done by 5, and then no, you got to keep grinding. You got to keep hustling. It's a
Exactly.
never ending. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's a transition.
Okay. Sounds good. Guess that's about it, really. Questions I got for you about basically, you coming here from the Philippines, starting over, everything like that. Also, did you ever take
Mhm.
any college classes? I forgot to ask that.
Yeah, I went to community college
Hmm.
after I finished school, high school.
Okay.
My parents were not able to afford me going to university,
Yep.
and you got to start somewhere. So I
Exactly.
went straight to community college. I was only taking one class at the
Hmm.
time, night class, because I was working full time. I worked at a nursing home at the time,
Okay.
and yeah, I was in school for about 3.5 years, and I finished my associate degree. After that, I
Nice.
said I could do much more with what I have,
Hmm.
because and at that time I was already 22 years old, and I told myself, why stick to doing a box concept mentality when I can
Yep.
just think outside the box? And
Hmm.
it took a while. It took a transition for me to do that. But yeah,
Okay.
I only finished with an associate degree.
Hmm.
Um,
This
it was
definitely
my
not a
best
only
decision.
this associate's degree, man. That's good, real good. A lot
It's
of people
something,
don't even get to that point
exactly.
when they're in college, just because, like you said, you were working at that point. Some people just be
Uh-huh.
like, you know what, I'm making money over here. Let me just stop school, maybe save up
Correct.
at that point, and then they never actually even go back to finishing at that school. So that's a
And
great accomplishment.
the funny thing about that too, actually, when I was cleaning up my closet, I was going through some old stuff that I was going through,
Hmm.
and there were a couple things that came in my mind because I saw my diploma
Hmm.
and my diploma cover.
Hmm.
And the funny thing about it was, I opened the diploma cover and I realized I don't have my diploma in it.
What?
I didn't have my diploma. What I remembered was I graduated and the
Mhm.
diploma was supposed to be picked up in school. I forgot to pick up the diploma because I was already hustling. I was already making money. I totally forgot about the diploma.
Uh-huh. So To this day, you still haven't got, like, you never picked it up?
No,
Oh,
no.
wow.
Yeah.
I don't
It
even
was
know where mine is, to be honest. Probably like at my
yeah.
parents' house or something.
Yeah, diploma for me, it's just a piece of paper, but like I
Definitely.
always tell younger generation, younger individuals, you have to go to school. You can't just say,
Mm,
hey, Gary Vee or whichever, speaker or entrepreneur you see or meet or you watch in social media, whatever the case may be, because that's the norm now.
yep.
When they say, hey, you don't need a degree. I mean, you got to have a backup plan. You can't just say,
Exactly.
oh, I'm going to be out of school, I'm going to hustle. You don't know what kind of hustle you're going to do.
Exactly.
You got to have a backup plan so that way if plan A doesn't work, you still have plan B, C through Z.
Yep.
All right? There's no reason for you to quit. There's no reason for you to say, my plan didn't work, so
That's
now
it.
let's go to plan B or C. You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Okay. I think that's all we got for you on this episode. Next up,
No.
we're definitely gonna be deep diving into now. So we just talked about your past. So basically, we're gonna start talking about on the next episode about you now, with the real estate, also the stock market. That's gonna be on the next podcast. Thanks
Perfect.
for taking the time out of your day today, being here,
Perfect.
and thank you for giving us all those advice and speaking about everything about you today and opening up to the podcast.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris. I really appreciate you, my brother.
All right.
And I'll talk to you soon.